I was of the belief that the United States government is supposed to work on behalf of the American people. It doesn't matter what other countries' interests are if it doesn't benefit us. For example, if Mexico can benefit from something and Americans can benefit from something, then as Americans, we should pick America, no, over Mexico. If Nigeria wanted something and Americans wanted something, then obviously we don't pick Nigeria, right? So, wouldn't you think it would apply to Israel as well? We actually have representatives that puts that country's priorities above ours. One of my favorite reporters is Tucker Carlson. He actually goes directly to where the source of where the problem is, and he speaks directly to the people that he thinks need to be addressed. In this case, he's talking to United States Ambassador Mike Huckabee. And one thing about Mike Huckabee is it seems like everything he does is not for us. It's for who he's supposed to be representing us to. America doesn't seem to be his main priority.
Please, I'm not sure because
it's really
I'm a Christian. I don't have any Jewish roots, so therefore I cannot quote you the law. If you want me to do that, I'll look it up.
Well, it really matters because you're saying, in fact, people in the United States are being called anti-Semites, a lot of them, including me, because they somehow don't believe that Israel has a right to this land.
Do you think Israel has a right to this land?
No, you haven't defined what the land is, and you haven't defined who Israel is, so I really don't know.
You know, I think it's really a shame that Americans have to walk on eggshells when it comes to this country, and I even have to take a minute to think of whether or not I even want to mention this country. In the United States, we should have free speech. And if the things that we are questioning about Israel starts to infringe on that speech, that's a really big problem. This whole, I'm gonna call it a slur of being called an anti-Semite, is very egregious and it's not fair. It's very gross. And the fact that Americans can't ask questions about a country that has a lot of questionable things going on is un-American. Just thinking about the fact that whatever this country's ideologies are and what makes them who they are and why we should stand with them and everything, first of all, as Americans, we should be able to do whatever we want. Hands down. That's the beauty of America, regardless of what country is in question. Second of all, if I just so happen to disagree with what this country has going on, calling me a slur like an anti-Semite should never be okay. In this interview, and in any interview, any of Tucker Carlson's work, I don't see how he's being anti-Semitic at all.
Abram's descendants are the ones who have the right to have this land, correct?
Yes.
Okay. Why don't we do genetic testing on everybody in the land and find out who Abram's descendants are? It's really simple. We've cracked the human genome. We can do that. Why don't we do that? Would you be against doing that?
I have no idea what that would prove. I mean,
Really?
maybe it would be.
What do you mean? What it would prove who Abram's descendants are and who has a right to live here and who doesn't, according to the theology that you yourself just explained.
Never said
that they have a right to live here because God gave them the land because they're the descendants of Abram.
They're the descendants of Abraham. But if they're the spiritual descendants of Abraham and they've now decided that they're converting to Judaism, then do they have a right to live in Israel?
You know, nothing agitates me more than answering a question with a question, especially if the question that was asked was not answered fully and properly. And as a tax-paying American citizen, it is really disheartening to know that my tax dollars is paying for an ambassador that seems to be working the other way. This question of who are we talking about? And we have a way to prove that they are who they say they are, but we can't do genetic testing, that is bewildering to me. This is a question that I've had for a long time, and this is why I struggle with religion a lot, because it's like, if these are supposed to be God's people, then let's get the DNA kits out. Like, well, what's the holdup? I will commend Huckabee for the people that he actually is an ambassador to. He might have the title, but he's flipped. This whole idea of being a spiritual descendant, you're either a descendant or you're not. I'm sure he knows that. When you point it out, he can't answer. He can get paid, he can represent us, but he can't answer questions. I have 2 children. They are biological. If you do a DNA test on them, you will find that I am their biological mother. There's nothing spiritual about it. I'm so glad Huckabee said all this. I'm glad he took time to break it down, because on the next step of this, Tucker Carlson is going to use a case study to prove exactly why Americans are so confused about why we should watch how we talk about these people. Who are they, the people? How come we get in trouble for talking about these folks and we don't have a sure definition of who they are?
Being Jewish is an identification either through blood or through faith. So this is a small population of people. They have connection to this land, historically, biblically.
Do they?
Yes, they do.
If Bibi's family, we know they lived in Eastern Europe. There's no evidence they ever lived here. He's not religious.
But
in what sense?
ancestrally,
how do we know that? His ancestors didn't. He doesn't practice Judaism in any rigorous way. His ancestors didn't live here. They didn't speak the language, and there's no evidence they ever lived here. So on what basis does he have a right to be
very much
here?
speaks the language.
America, we're going to have to figure out what we're doing here. This country has their hand in a lot of our dealings from day to day. That's very disturbing. And if we ask any questions, we're bad people. And that's a problem. As Americans, we have a right to free speech. And as taxpayers, we have a right to expect that our money is going to work for us. We don't know who these people are. We don't know what these people represent. We don't know what the rules are to be considered one of these folks. But we're paying them billions and billions of dollars